Yeah, we on Boss Talk TV. Shout out to E. He the reason you see me.
Nick Harper from South Carolina catches a pass, scampers down the field for a damn long touchdown run, runs into the tunnel because he's holding his hamstring, and then his teammates come to help him because they know that something must be wrong because he kept going in there and he's holding his hamstring. He comes back out. You can see the officer at the stadium walking in between two players and literally bumps into both of them and flexes his arms out before turning around and telling them to get on out of here and all of this other stuff. We saw it. It's clear as day. It's an automatic suspension. The man shouldn't be allowed to work the game again. What you doing messing with a player like that for? Was somebody in street clothes that you didn't know was a player? You knew exactly who it was. You knew it was a player for South Carolina. You knew that, and you did it anyway. There's nothing to think about here. There's no argument. There's no excuse on the part of the behavior of the officer. He shouldn't even be allowed to cover the games anymore, and definitely should be suspended.
From our quarterbacks, and they knew this was going to be a challenge with USF having said we have to have better play from our quarterbacks, and they knew this was going to be a challenge with USF having.
Wow, guys, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, man. Man, I'm looking at this. Man, listen, bro. This and it's pretty much going crazy. Right now, I'm really looking at. So, hey, man, Jersey, man, I don't know where you're at. I'm already on this call, man. Stephen A. Smith speaks out, man, because of a guy basically bumping into a player in Texas. A state trooper bumped a player from South Carolina while they was playing, right? And it's crazy because when he bumped him, it like he ran a touchdown. They was already beating Texas A&M. And basically bumps him, and when he going in, he runs into the tunnel after he catches the touchdown. I don't know if he pulled his hamstring or something, but at the end of the day, this state trooper is going viral, and he's being suspended.
So the state trooper who was probably guarding the end zone is what you're basically telling me, bumped into the player after he scored a touchdown?
Well, he walks in, well, the dude, no, after the dude scores a touchdown, he runs into the tunnel. And then when the teammates run in after him to try to see if he's okay. And when they walking back out, a state trooper's walking in, and he walks between two players, and they bump real hard. And basically, it's almost, and the officer turns around and gets flagrant with him. You know what I'm saying? He come at him like, man, like these guys are walking down this tunnel. You know this is where they be at. So he kind of, and I'm going to read the CNN article. It says, Texas State trooper sent home after altercation with a South Carolina wide receiver, Nick Harper. Says the Texas Department of Public Safety DPS trooper was sent home after having a run-in with a South Carolina player, Nick Harper, during a Saturday game against number 3 Texas A&M. In the second quarter, the junior wide receiver scored an 80-yard touchdown, and his momentum took him up a tunnel at Kyle Field while hobbling with a slight limp. It says, as Harper and his teammates came back down the tunnel, walking 4 wide, a Texas DPS trooper was walking up the tunnel, and the trooper bumped the Harper and Gamma R&B, so the running backs, Oscar Hardaway III, with the trooper appearing to give players a shove. The trooper then turns and points at Harper and appears to yell at him. Texas A&M campus police later announced, we are aware of the incident in the NE tunnel involving the DPS trooper. He has been relieved of his game day assignment. The 20-year-old was then ushered away and Attaway, and then they headed back to the field. So it's crazy because you wouldn't think things like this would even go viral or it would be a situation. But when them cameras is showing and something happens, bruh, it ain't like it used to be. So Stephen A. spoke out, which he said it should have been an automatic suspension. I seen Pac-Man Jones, he spoke out as well. You know, a lot of the players and everybody speaking out, and they're going to do that because of the intensity, first of all, when it comes to officers and black guys on a whole, but then for this to be on a public stage and for it to look so flagrant and they arguing, it's going to make things look bad. So do you think that the officers should be suspended, or do you feel like he's walking and doing his job?
Yeah, he should definitely be suspended because he was there at a game. And so if you're there at a game, then your job is to make sure the players are safe and to make sure nothing breaks out in the crowd, right? So he was cognizant of everything he did. It wasn't like he woke up and he was magically at a football game and he didn't know what to do. So obviously he was there to do a job, and he went too far. I think from what you just read, I just think he went too far.
And I
That's
think,
just my opinion.
yeah, and it's basically, like I said, it's a thing where it's like, damn, like, bro, everything we do now is on a microscopic watch. This guy knows this. And again, here's something else you got to think about. Anger is something else. Triggering is something else. Every situation, you got to be on your P's and Q's, like you just said. If you are an officer and you know already that you at a game and you know these are young players, these guys are from South Carolina. They just down there visiting, Texas A&M and playing a football game, right? So it just was real weird that this would even happen and be on a whole, like a whole stage to be seen and even be some of the day. The main thing should have been the game, but it ends up being this officer bumping into this player, right? It says Aggies quarterback Marcel Reed threw for a career high of 439 yards and 3 touchdowns to improve the team's record of a perfect 10-0 on the season. South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer said he wasn't aware of the incident with the Harbor and trooper, but added it was good to know when told the officer got sent home. Got a ton of respect for the people here in College Station. Beamer told reporters they're just a first class operation. Everybody from a game operation standpoint, they really do a great job. They're first class people, so appreciate them for handling that the right way, sending the trooper home. The incident drew the ire of many of the social media, including NBA superstar LeBron James, who called the trooper to be suspended. Harbor left the game in the fourth quarter with a separate injury after making an 18-yard catch and was later seen walking back to the locker room with the trainers after some time in the medical tent. Beamer added that Harbor was being taken to a hospital. As I walked in here, the plan was to take him to the hospital, Beamer said. Just saw him in the training room and his dad. He landed on a sideline and the guy came down on his chest. So I think they just want to, from a pecuniary standpoint, make sure everything's okay. So keep him in your prayers. So look like Texas A&M is they got a hell of a team too. The game cock fall to 3-7 on the season and host Coastal Carolina next week before closing out the season against in-state rivals Clemson and November 29th, Columbia and South Carolina, a CNN report. So, man, like I said, it took away the glory of the win, so much so because people started pointing at this right here. As you see, LeBron, he spoke out. Stephen A. Smith spoke out. Pac-Man Jones. A lot of the sports people are speaking out about it. But, man, it's just the climate we in. How important is it for us to keep our composure when we in these situations, whether it's the officer, whether it's the young man, the wide receiver, or whoever. But I'm not taking nobody's side, but I'm just saying how important is it to keep a cool head in these situations?
From my vantage point, listen, cool heads will always prevail over anything. Before I get into it, I'm gonna just preface what I'm saying is, listen, I'm not one of these race baiters. I'm past that.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, but I am totally cognizant that as a black man, I can't slip on a banana peel and not get jacked up. I understand. There is a different standard in the United States of America, even when you just look at sentencing for certain crimes, right? Especially before the Biden administration, where he was just letting everybody do anything. But you're old enough to either remember when the United States, especially in Texas, your whole state is based off of law and order.
Yeah.
So as men, we have to maintain some type of level head, and be cognizant of your surroundings. The stuff I could say to you in private is not the stuff I could say to you in public or graphic. And understanding that is a point of discipline and understanding why you always have to maintain a level head. There's an old saying, sit down, think about it before you react. Because a lot of times when you do that, you can have a more rational mind and a more rational conclusion. when you shoot off the hip, you're not prepared for the ramifications that can come afterwards. So that's just my take.
Man, Nick Harbor, for him to get bumped like that, even though, in the game like that, it definitely takes your head out of the game for sure. Especially if you had run-ins with police before and stuff like that. So, the way he bumped, the way they ran into, just a thing where I just don't think it should have happened. But at the end of the day, they did what they supposed to do and sent him home. Hopefully they're knowing them with the way this publicity is hitting the internet over this stuff. I just don't even see him being back in there, but he might, because it's Texas and they proud. You know what I'm saying? So maybe they talked to him and said, "Man, no, I didn't see him." Or maybe he apologized next week. He back out there on the field with those players. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But
well, you got to understand adrenaline, right? When you're an athlete, you working off of adrenaline. You're working off of a rush at the moment. So sometimes everything is a flashpoint. Everything is a split-second decision. And sometimes you don't have that discipline at that moment because you are running off adrenaline. It's called fight or flight, right?
Right.
So a lot of times that stuff can take over and the spur of the moment. That's just the truth.
Man, you're 100% right. Stephen A., he, like I said, when he spoke out, and I'm going to listen to a little bit more of it, he talked.
Nick Harbor from South Carolina catches a pass, scampers down the field for a damn long touchdown run, runs into the tunnel because he's holding his hamstring, and then his teammates come to help him because they know that something must be wrong because he kept going in there and he's holding his hamstring. He comes back out. You can see the officer at the stadium walking in between two players and literally bumps into both of them and flexes his arms out before turning around and telling them to get on out of here and all of this other stuff. We saw it. It's clear as day. It's an automatic suspension. The man shouldn't be allowed to work the game again. What you doing messing with a player like that for?
Wow. So that's the level of how people are feeling about this. And I barely ever agree with Stephen A., but I have to agree with him in this sense. It definitely is something where you shouldn't, you got to know where you're at as an officer. And I like I say, on this one right here, I kind of agree with Stephen A. You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously he knew he was at a game. And if you're working a game as an officer, your job is to protect the premises, not to mess with the players. Point blank, period. We know that. That's like if I was an NBA player and I'm playing against the opposing team and the security guard, because if you ever sit in the front row of a basketball game, the security guards are always standing in submission in front of. That's like them clipping me while I'm running down the court because they're mad that I'm beating their team.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what you're there for. You're there to provide a service. You're getting paid to do a job. Make sure it's a safe environment. You go home. And that's it. And then that's why I say what he probably did was very preempted, or he has some type of anger issue. Something is not right in that situation. That's common sense at this point.
Wow. Thank you so much. Hey, man, thank you so much, man. Appreciate them words, man. Guys, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys tap in, man. Download the app, bosstalk101.app. If you're looking on the website, whatever you want to do, we got it for you, man. It's going down, man. Boss Talk 101 reviews.
Yeah, we on Boss Talk TV. Shout out to E. He the reason you see me.